Decade ago, he's turned into a major role player and starter for the Big Ten champions with Purdue. Michigan State shares the Big Ten title with a win over Michigan.
And welcome in. It's March 13th, 2019. Views from the sideline. That was Michigan State sweeping the season series with the University of Michigan, winning the Big Ten regular season title. Welcome into the show, guys. I'm your host, Chris Pappas. Alongside me, Joey Tysick, Malik Hill, and a special guest to the desk today, Garrett Kolodziej.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to the show, host of Colo Sports Corner on 88.3 WXOU, The Grizz.
Chris, I'm very privileged to be back. As I've told you before, I feel like Robert Horry coming off the bench, only out here for one shot, one opportunity. So I'm very thrilled.
Wait. But you have two shots.
I do have two shots. That's right, because I'll be back next week for the NCAA tournament preview here. So, but with that being said, I'm happy, Chris. There's a lot going on in the sports world, and I have a sizzler on that game that we'll get into later.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm fed up, and it's not with Michigan fan, not with Michigan State fan. It's a different take.
Don't look to your left.
Yeah. Yeah, you see it. I was there. I was in the family and friends MSU section.
Okay.
Yeah, as a Michigan fan. So
no, like I said, there's nothing.
It burned.
It's nothing with you guys.
Yeah.
It's nothing with State fans.
Stop covering your tracks, Garrett. Stop covering your tracks. Just
wear the bear.
I'm sure he has a good explanation.
It'll be good. It'll be good.
But yeah, we got a packed show today. We're gonna break down all the NFL free agency craziness that has happened. The Detroit Lions are big in the news. We'll break them down first. What's the most overrated move? What's the most underrated move? There's kind of a big trade that happened involving the state of Ohio. We'll touch on Oakland men's basketball, which maybe lost a heartbreaker. Yeah, they definitely did lose a heartbreaker. And then we're gonna get into our Big Ten preview. So let's get right into it. The Detroit Lions making major headlines on the first day of free agency. They released Nevin Lawson. They signed Danny Amendola, 1 year, $4.5 million, could reach almost $6 million with incentives. Signed cornerback Justin Coleman, 4 years, $36 million. Signed tight end Jesse James. Signed defensive end Trey Flowers, 5 years, $90 million, and re-signed running back Zach Zenner. Guys, first impressions, first thing that comes to your head after I read that list that the Lions did yesterday.
So happy to have Zach Zenner back.
That's the thing that draws you.
Not even a joke. Like that guy.
The White Walker, yes.
But
how many carries is he going to get this season? Is he going to get over 15?
Doesn't matter. They're going to be
All right.
They're going to be meaningful.
Okay.
No, the Lions offseason has been great. I'm happy that they didn't just sit on their butts and do nothing, similar to what they did last year. I don't know if all these moves are going to really move the needle completely, but it's definitely a good start. I think they got one of the best tight ends on the free agency market in Jesse James.
I think that might have been the more underrated move so far this offseason. I thought Jesse James was a great pickup.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to depend on how they decide to use him in the offense. I hope they don't not use him.
I was going to say, I think he's going to be a big part of the offense just because it seems like Detroit is definitely angling towards just defense first. So by default, with you're signing Danny Amendola to be one of your key receivers, Jesse James is going to have to get a lot of touches.
And they signed 3 former, at one point, Patriots. So they're obviously still going with that mold. Maybe they mold their offense like that and they use their tight end a little bit more. That'd be great.
I don't like the Lions becoming the Detroit Patriots. I really don't.
Every Patriots assistant tries to do this, and this is when things start getting
exactly
weird.
That's what makes you a little bit nervous about the whole thing. Yeah. But overall, so far, so good.
Garrett, what do you think so far? I mean, I just rattled off a bunch of names. The Detroit Lions extremely busy in the first day of free agency. What's your first impression?
I think they now have their direction, Chris. second year of a new head coach regime. Bob Quinn in his, fourth season now, I believe.
Yep.
There's a direction that's being laid forth. You've got your guys in from the New England staff that you want. You paid for arguably the top free agent in the draft class and Trey Flowers. I think it's going to help shore them up. Like I said, I think now you cast that direction of where you want to go for the draft and then moving into the offseason. I still don't think drafting an offensive player for them is out of the question. I mean, this is a team that, let's be fair, just because they signed Jesse James doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to give Stafford more tools or give him more, sand toys in the sandbox and give him another, target, let's say more like a TJ Hawkinson who's rumored to be around there. But I think they addressed major needs, and clearly they had some money to throw around, not like money that obviously the Jets and the Colts had, which is absurd amount of, cap space there, but they had some money to throw around. They could still make a few more moves as well, minor cheap moves and restructure some contracts. They have a direction. They know where they want to go. And heading into year 2 of Matt Patricia, I think you will see a bigger focus or a greater emphasis on building a defense, building a scheme that fits this defense, that starts with Flowers, that starts with Coleman, that starts with, an improved Tracy Walker, a few things like that. So
Let me ask you this, Garrett. Do you think this was the biggest offseason for Bob Quinn? Do you think if this doesn't pan out well this coming season, that he is gone?
I don't think he's gone after this year, but I think there should be a lot of questions asked.
So if they win 6 games, you still think Bob Quinn's here?
Yes. Because I think in general, he's tied at the hip with Matt Stafford and Matt Patricia. He's tied at the hip. And you got to remember, the first year that he came in here, the first year as a general manager for this team, who did he go out and get? Marvin Jones, TJ Lang, Ricky Wagner. He went out and spent money. Unfortunately,
right.
TJ Lang isn't here anymore. But again, he went out and threw around some money. Now, different situation, different circumstance, yes.
I could say the same thing to you, though. Yeah, he did. You're right. He did go out and go spend some money. I can go out and spend money too, but doesn't mean you get the same result. How many playoff wins did they win?
They haven't won a single thing, and that's a fair point. I don't expect them though to be a 6-win team heading into this year. They've probably improved by maybe 2 wins, possibly 3 with these moves. And again, having the number 8 selection in April is going to give them a lot more leverage.
Yeah.
So what this team does at that 8 pick, personally, I think they're going to get a guy who's a hybrid guy who can play linebacker or D-line, get down on the edge, or a guy
You
who
don't
can
think they
stand
go
up.
offense at 8?
I don't, but like I said, I wouldn't rule that out. I just think that we're seeing now year 2, Matt Patricia, his defense. We're seeing now that this team's focusing on defense.
Okay.
And they went out, got the best player available in the free agent market, and they're probably going to go out and get the best hybrid edge rusher that they can find in the draft, pair him up next to Flowers, and then have Deshaun Hand mix in, Ashawn Robinson mix in, and build that thing from the line out.
I would love if Montez Sweat is there at 8.
I don't think he's going to be there.
I don't either.
After
The
that
way
combine
that
performance,
he's going,
I
it
think
doesn't
he's
look
top
like
5,
it.
Yeah.
But if he would make it there,
Jeffrey Simmons
No
is probably more
no
possible.
joke though, and I've heard this too. Don't be shocked if the Lions went after Antoine Greedy-Williams at 8. I think that's a realistic possibility. I know some people have him slipping, but again, they just let go of Nevin Lawson. They paid Justin Coleman to be their nickel corner. They probably are looking for a number 2 to go next to Slay. And as much as I love Tavon Wilson and Diggs and Walker, they probably need another guy to solidify that other side on Slay. So they've got the nickel set. They've got the primary receiver set. Now they need that other side receiver, position set, at least for the corner spot. And so I think they could look at Greedy-Williams at 8. Either way, I'm expecting defense unless they still decide they want to give Matt Stafford all the weapons in the world and go with Hawkinson.
Malik, what's your take of the Lions free agency so far? We got Joey's opinion. We got Garrett's opinion. We need the Michigan perspective.
Well, honestly, I think this is the best position they've been in a while, to be honest. I mean, these are some good free agent signings, nothing that blows you away, but just good pieces. And with this 8 pick, like they said, this is one of the deepest defensive drafts, especially in the first round, from the defensive end, D-tackle, linebacker positions. You can get a high-quality player at almost any point in the first round, and even going into the second and third rounds. There are high-value, high-quality players all over the place. So whether they want to go D-line, which them getting Trey Flowers, really good move, shoring up that D-line. Not a lot of pass rush last season. Great pickup. Hopefully the draft pick last year starts improving a lot this year at the linebacker position. But they have a lot of A lot of options. I don't want them to go the TJ Hawkinson route, even though scouts are going crazy over him. They're billing him as another one of the maybe next Gronkowski types, which doesn't work out a lot. Gronkowski is a one of a kind.
He could be the next Eric Ebron.
He's going to leave the Lions and blow up somewhere else? Produce here.
Yeah,
I mean, I just have to throw that joke out there.
The only thing I'll say about Hawkinson, and the only thing I'd say about the offense is, I don't think they would draft him if they don't think he could help out on the run side of the game. Again, this team's focusing on running the ball. They got Kerryon Johnson. They're trying to consistently beef up that line. They brought back Zach Zenner. As much as we laugh at it, I mean, they do have some depth there now. With Riddick, I still think they're going to add another veteran guy here off the scrap heap, whether that's in preseason or whatever.
And last year, people laughed at the Frank Ragnow pick, but he showed signs of being extremely dominant.
At some point, they're going to run the ball.
Yeah.
And so if Hawkinson can fit into that role for them, it's not just he'll catch 100 passes. He's also going to factor into the run block game as well. Jesse James is a very strong, very capable run blocking tight end, and
a really good red zone threat. Yeah.
And I talked to a friend of mine who's actually a Steelers fan. He grew up diehard Steelers fan. There's a reason why Le'Veon Bell was so good whenever Jesse James was in the game. Jesse James would set those lead blocks for Le'Veon Bell to just run free. And trust me, Le'Veon Bell has the patience of some of the greats.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but when you have a guy like him who can set that hole for you, it makes your day job a lot easier.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot of moves that happened yesterday, not just involving the Detroit Lions. Probably the biggest move, Odell Beckham Jr., no longer a New York Giant. He was traded to Cleveland. Now he teams up with Baker Mayfield, Jarvis Landry, their teammates again, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. What do you guys make of this deal? The Giants, they acquired the 17th overall pick in the draft, the 95th overall pick, which is a third-round pick, and Jabril Peppers, former Michigan guy. First reactions.
Yeah, I want to comment on this one first because at first look, of course, everybody's going crazy. You have Odell and Jarvis back together. One of the few guys in football that Odell completely trusts. They're pretty much like brothers.
And to be fair, too, Odell is the biggest wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah.
Just by name. I mean, he's not the best, but if you say Odell Beckham, people know who you're talking about.
Yeah, from a point of him being comfortable with another guy in his receiving core, there's no other place you could go to. But as I've been thinking about it more, I think this could possibly, if not handled well, this could blow up in their face.
Really?
Because the type of attitude and personality that Odell Beckham has built over the past few years, he is the diva of all NFL receivers. And Baker Mayfield has the type of attitude to where he's going to lead that offense. And if you butt heads with him, Baker will try to put you in there. He was a rookie last year. It doesn't matter. Baker is going to lead that offense. If him and Odell butt heads, Baker's the guy. They're going to side with Baker. Plus, you have the Freddie Kitchens factor. He's a first-year head coach. He doesn't have a lot of experience, even as a coordinator. It was just a guy that Baker was most comfortable with. So there are a lot of things that have to mesh together well and go right for this whole thing to work out.
But do you think the Odell is a diva type of deal was kind of blown up a little bit because he played in New York? A lot of things are blown up playing in these big markets.
I would say it was blown up.
And it was a dysfunctional organization. Just playing in that was such a dysfunctional organization last year.
But you've seen there have been top receivers in other dysfunctional situations. Calvin Johnson in Detroit. Although they won a few years.
Malik, why you gotta throw shade?
No ego from him. Larry Fitzgerald, the Cardinals organization has been falling apart. He's one of the best people in the NFL by far. Odell Beckham is his own person. He fights kickers' nets on the sideline. He snaps on coaches. When they're not winning, he falls apart as a person. That's just who he is.
I see where
he hasn't matured a lot through his years. And this could help, but it could also hurt knowing all of the big personalities thrown into this.
Yeah, it's a high risk, high reward move for Cleveland and for a franchise that simply just hasn't had success ever. It's a good move in my opinion. I mean,
at face value, it's on paper, it's out of this world. But I think it could be boom or bust.
Exactly, boom or bust. Yeah. I mean, this team could win a playoff game next year, 100% with how dynamic this offense could be. Baker was a rookie last year. Now he's got a year under his belt. You definitely, you have to believe he's going to take maybe another step forward. Now he's got Odell and Jarvis, and then running options in Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Regardless of your opinion of Kareem Hunt and if he should be playing in the NFL still, he's still a value to have at that position. The Cleveland Browns might be a playoff team this year, guys.
I would go as far as to say they will win the AFC North. Like, I would go as far as to say that. I know the Ravens have been making some moves, but there's
they
a
lost
chance.
everybody too.
That's true.
All their veteran guys, at
right?
least.
And there's a good chance. And I believe Terrell Suggs signed with the Cardinals. I believe it was.
Yeah.
So there's a good chance that the Browns win the AFC North. And Malik, I think you brought up a really good point about that. Odell Beckham, he surrounds himself with a lot of that bad cloud because he is unpredictable. He is more boisterous. He is more of a hard on the kind of sleeve player. And for most guys and for most teams, that's fine. Cleveland's a city, though, that I feel like will, as long as you win, you'll take it. Because, LeBron left him, came back, won a title for him, and then he left the second time. And I don't see as much backlash the second time he left because he won the title.
Exactly.
Now, they go from LBJ to OBJ. So it's, or from OBJ to,
I got
that whole thing. So for me, he is the face now of Cleveland sports. I know Baker Mayfield, everybody loves him. I love Baker Mayfield as well, too. I don't know if year one they'll go and some people are now saying that the Super Bowl odds for them went up to 20-1. They won't do that, but I think this is a long-term process, and I actually think that this could bode well for the Browns moving forward. That could be a steep price to pay when you consider how much the Raiders gave up to get Antonio Brown, which I'm assuming you're going to talk about here shortly. But it's a calculated risk. And if this works out well for Cleveland, you have yourself a potential to play in a Super Bowl in a couple years. If it doesn't work out well, now you're back to where you've been the last 20 years.
You sold a lot of tickets, sold a lot of merchandise, made a lot of money. In the end, it's a win-win.
I've already got my Baker Mayfield Color Rush jersey, so I might as well add an Odell Beckham Jr. Browns jersey as well with that.
Get the Baker's dozen going.
How much do you think the Greg Williams situation, him leaving, how much do you think that affects this entire thing? Because I think that could be huge, especially
it could be. But again, they got rid of Jamie Collins, who is their best player, I believe, on defense. This tells me that now Cleveland is going to focus on the defensive side of the ball in this draft. I really do think that Cleveland had the picks, had the draft capital to make this happen and not bankrupt their future. So could we see this happen to where they focus all on defense? I do, because now they have all the pieces, I think, on the front end. They found what looks like the replacement potentially for Joe Thomas on that left side. Looks like they could be ready to rock and roll. Now you just build some young pieces, some exciting pieces on the defensive side of the ball, throw them in there, and then you hope maybe a year or two from now that this team can be contending.
Joe, what's your opinion? You've been rather quiet here.
I've just been listening. I'm taking it all in.
You took it all in. Now let's hear your opinion.
Either way, it's a great deal for Cleveland, both for the fans and the organization. It just helps their offense get even better. And like you said, it sells more merchandise. It gets people in the seats. And
it's a buzz about the team.
Like all of a sudden, Cleveland is relevant again. For like before last year, they were the laughingstock of the NFL, even below the Lions. And now last year they became relevant. And now they're super relevant where people are expecting them to make the playoffs and do something. And the exciting thing is it's a young group that their offense is. They found a great tight end in David Njoku last year. And Baker Mayfield has become everything they thought he would be. And now you have two really good wide receivers. Again, like Malik said, the drama will be the concern. It's either going to go one or two ways, where Baker Mayfield and Odell get along super great.
Which is also an option.
Because I could definitely see that happening, where they just become buddy-buddy and they're the next, dynamic duo. Or they butt heads. But hopefully Jarvis Landry, like we said, is going to be that kind of median guy, and he's going to bring everybody together, hopefully, and be kind of the leader on that offensive side.
And I think that's what Cleveland is kind of hoping as well.
My one big concern is the Kareem Hunt thing. Not him necessarily, but the drama he may bring, whether it be from the fans or outside players. I'm not sure. We'll have to see on that front what happens there. But if he can just ignore everything and prove that he's a better person and just play, then Cleveland won for sure. And the deal to get Odell honestly seems like a steal.
Now, see, you mentioned the whole thing with the Kareem Hunt. There was backlash. There was, all the why Cleveland chose this, dealing with a lot of that backlash, a lot of that criticism. I actually think that this trade wipes out much, if not all of this concern and this criticism of even signing Kareem Hunt.
Why is that?
Because let's be fair here. There is an attached risk to having a guy like Kareem Hunt, knowing he did hit his girlfriend, or knowing he did hit a girl, and it's all on tape. There's still going to be that stigma around him, but it's Odell Beckham Jr. He's going to have his own people. He's going to have his own cloud that's even bigger and brighter and so much larger than what Kareem.
So you're not saying it
represents.
solves the issue. You're just saying it covers it up.
No, it covers it up.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And so I think that's not because during the season, you're going to talk about how will Odell Beckham Jr. blend in with Baker Mayfield? How well do him and Jarvis Landry get along? Can they get along? And then it's Kareem, how does Kareem Hunt factor in? That's the fourth issue I just mentioned there. 3 weeks ago, that was the number one pressing issue there, maybe number two. So now if that's your fourth most pertinent issue, if you're a Browns fan and if you're covering the Browns, that's honestly a good thing.
Plus, Nick Chubb is their number one guy anyway. So
I want to get Garrett. I want to get your opinion. I want to get Malik's opinion in this as well, and then Joey can chime in too. What is your opinion on the Browns' offensive line? Because I think that will be the key to whether this goes or if this falls flat. No one has an opinion on their offensive line.
I mean, it's a work in progress. But again, like I said, this Odell Beckham Jr. trade could be the piece that's starting to build this foundation.
But I mean, I'm just saying in the long run, if Baker doesn't have time, this thing's going to come crashing down. If you don't have an offensive line that can block for your running backs, give your QB enough time in the pocket.
Right, but
this is all for naught.
Right, but who's to say they don't go out in the draft and address that maybe in the second round, third round? Who's to say that they don't go out and maybe make another trade or go out and maybe make another signing? Cleveland still has a bunch of money in cap space that they can throw around. I mean, that's not unrealistic to see them go and drop some money on a big name guy that gets cut from a team because they want to go and restructure a deal and bring in someone who's an even bigger name, like Le'Veon Bell. So we'll see. I mean, it's still fluid. The league year hasn't even started yet. We got to wait till 4 p.m. on Wednesday, March, whatever it is, 13th, for that to start.
Wait, isn't today Wednesday, March 13th? Hey.
Yeah.
Sorry, sidetrack there.
No, but like what I'm saying is they can
2
still
hours.
address those needs. They can still address those needs.
There's still a lot of offseason to play. But I think for me that's the most pressing issue when I'm looking at the Browns and whether this is going to be a serious contender come playoff time or if this is just a team that's going to sit around that 7-8 win mark and be fun to watch, but not produce enough wins to get real fans excited. But I'm with Garrett. I think if I was picking a favorite in the AFC North today, I'm picking the Browns. I think Cincinnati is dangerous. People still sleep on them. I mean, you still have Andy Dalton, still have AJ Green. I can't count them out, but the Browns are the hot team to talk about right now. Moving on, QB Nick Foles signs with Jacksonville, and Jacksonville then releases Blake Bortles. 4 years, $88 million for Nick Foles. Joe, what's your first impression on that deal? Too much for Nick Foles?
Super Bowl MVP.
Too much for Nick Foles?
Super Bowl MVP.
That's it.
I'm a Nick
Super
Foles
Bowl
believer.
MVP.
I think it's fine. I mean, quarterbacks are always going to get paid, and he's one of the better quarterbacks that's out there right now. Now, he's not the greatest quarterback, obviously, but he's proven to show that he can play in big moments. So I think that it definitely helps. Blake Bortles is definitely should have been out a while ago, I think, for Jacksonville. So it helps him a little bit. It doesn't probably fix the problems, but it's not a bad deal for them.
Do you think? Oh, go ahead, Garrett.
No, I was going to say, I think their biggest issue is if Leonard Fournette's even going to be back and healthy this year.
Right.
I mean, that's another realistic thing that no one talks about. I actually think Jacksonville slightly underpaid Nick Foles. I mean,
really?
there were some people that were talking about he would get 25, 27, maybe even $30 million on the open market this year. The only thing that hurt Nick Foles was a limited availability for quarterbacks in this market, because it seems like there's only a handful of teams that needed quarterback help.
And the ones that really do are looking to the draft.
Right. So I think there wasn't as big of a market for Foles. In my opinion, Jacksonville probably got him at a little bit of a lower cost than what they had expected. He definitely is an upgrade over Blake Bortles, but I don't know how much of an upgrade. But I think for 4 years, for what they're trying to do, Nick Foles will be fine. He's a league average quarterback. I'm not going to sit here and say he's a top 10 quarterback. I know he's a Super Bowl MVP, but again, Trent Dilfer's also a Super Bowl MVP. So let's not try and sit here and say Nick Foles is his next best thing since sliced bread.
I think there's a difference between Trent Dilfer and Nick Foles, though.
There might be, yes. But
I think
again,
Nick Foles helped them win that game more.
Well, and to be fair, they had a very strong defense and a strong run game that helped them out with, Ajayi and Clement, and they've got, good pieces on the run game. But I think Foles will be fine. He fits that system fine. He can put up good numbers down in Jacksonville. Nobody will seem to bother him down there. I think it's a good fit.
Could the Lions come calling into Blake Bortles? Hey Blake.
No.
You want to play some backup QB?
No reason.
Well, Blake's not going to be. He's
No
not
need.
a starter in the NFL.
It doesn't matter.
I don't even want him as a backup.
Yeah.
With Detroit.
No.
Completely
Why?
honest.
Why?
I'd rather have Teddy Bridgewater as my backup than Blake Bortles. Like that, and that's saying something. And that's actually no slight on Teddy, Teddy Two Gloves, but that's
In my opinion, Blake Bortles has had a legit 2 good seasons. Like
I'm fine
quality NFL seasons.
We can just go get another Michigan State quarterback for our backup. I'm fine with that.
Do you think Rudolph's still around? Can we get Jake?
I wish the Lions kept him.
I feel like they
oh, yeah,
always.
that's right. Connor Cook's on the roster. He's the backup.
Yeah, I was
this
gonna
year.
say
Oh, there
Connor.
you go.
That's what I was saying. Connor Cook. I
Go
know.
with the hometown guys.
We've
That
had
always
Drew
works.
Stanton, Connor Cook. Like, why not?
So I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about those New York Jets.
Oh,
Made some moves. Signed linebacker C.J. Mosley, $85 million. I think it was over 5 years. Signed Le'Veon Bell late last night, 4 years, $52 million. Anthony Barr was set to join the New York Jets, but he decided to go back to Minnesota.
He woke up into reality.
But, I mean, all in all, landing C.J. Mosley, I think is a big get for New York, as well as you don't Garrett, I got to go right to you. You're shaking your head.
He's on a downward trend.
The Jets are still a hot dumpster fire. They still are. It doesn't matter if they sign C.J. Mosley. It doesn't matter if they sign Le'Veon Bell. They are still a hot dumpster fire.
Why is this? Let's go.
Well, for one, they gave the Colts their second-round pick this year, which I think is hilarious. So thank you for the top 4 pick, on top of giving them last year a second and a first. And by the way, the Jets aren't even utilizing any of their cap space. They're just a dumpster fire. I don't trust Sam Darnold whatsoever. They have no O-line. Robbie Anderson's probably going to get traded this year. Like, it doesn't matter that they bring in C.J. Mosley and Le'Veon Bell, because Le'Veon's going to want out in 2 years, and all the stuff we're talking about with Odell Beckham Jr. is going to be the same exact thing that we talk about with Le'Veon Bell in probably a year and a half from now.
And Jamison Crowder won't raise the Cole level of the
I do think Jamison Crowder was a solid.
He's a good slot receiver.
He's a good slot receiver, but I mean, what? Darnold still has what to throw to now?
Darnold still has
Robbie
years,
Anderson.
Yeah. He still has several years to build.
I mean, what?
He needs serious weapons.
Who was the last good receiver the Jets had? Lavernius Coles,
Santonio
Jericho
Holmes.
Cotchery.
Santonio, maybe.
Maybe I should have. Maybe I should have mentioned the Jets.
Garrett,
Shouldn't have.
I'm glad you're here.
You should have seen this coming.
I mean, you've
Come
set
on,
yourself
Chris.
up for this, Chris.
Garrett
The
just put me on
only
blast.
okay, so the only saving grace here is that they got Le'Veon Bell on the cheap
Yeah.
because
Which-
we
that was a
wanted
good
a
deal.
lot more.
Honestly, Joey, that baffles me. Like,
Yeah.
you saw him all year saying he wants $20 million. He wants excess of $100 million in total money in his contract.
and even recently saying I need 15 to 17.
And yet he signs for 4 years and 52. And that to me just baffles me.
I mean, he was offered 5 years, 70 from Pittsburgh. He turned that down.
It's just like
It
the
must have
whole-
been that toxic.
And I
of a
know
situation.
it's a weird comparison to me, but it's like the same thing happened with Bryce Harper when he signed with the Phillies. Gave up a 4-year, $180 million deal from the Dodgers to go play for the Phillies for 13 years and have like no
Security.
flexibility.
See that one.
But why would you go to the Jets if
but
you're
he did get his max money though for that. Le'Veon Bell
did.
is not.
That's what I'm
getting
saying.
that.
It's not the same situation because at least Bryce, he's locked in. What was it? 10? It was 13 years, right?
13 years, 300, yeah.
330.
Yeah, I mean, he's set for life. Good for you, Bryce. I mean, he's set for a lot of lives, but
and never win a championship. I don't
hey, man, just keep cashing those checks.
I think there are several teams that had a better free agency than the Jets, to be honest.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think the Baltimore Ravens might have the most underrated.
I would
of
agree with
all.
that. I would agree with that.
You lose Eric Weddle, you get Earl Thomas, you add Mark Ingram.
That
to
was a good
offense.
get. Yeah.
This is nothing. This is just helping Lamar Jackson every single step. Keep the defense more on the field. You don't have to keep Lamar Jackson out there running around, possibly getting hurt. You can give Mark Ingram the ball more, and he's a really good, maybe one of the better pass blockers in the league at the running back position.
And let's be honest here. I think the Ravens now, yes, they lost Suggs. Yes, they lost Mosley. Suggs, to me, he was kind of on the downfall of his career anyway, so that really
he's
doesn't
more
matter.
of a loss from the locker room standpoint.
He is. This still now tells me, you know what? The Ravens now, they got a new GM in place. I forget his name, but he was Ozzie Newsom's kind of right-hand man. I mean, they're going to be able to draft now. And in a deep defensive draft, we know how much the Ravens love having that lockdown D. Yeah, this is by far. If I had to name a winner of this, it's probably the Ravens. Yeah. Up to this point. And they got picks for Joe Flacco.
Who gave up picks for Joe Flacco?
What is John Elway doing?
Yeah, what is John Elway doing? And then what? He gets a
man.
7th for Case Keenum or something like that? Because apparently somebody who wanted to pay Case Keenum all that money.
All right, we do have to touch on the Antonio Brown stuff. That did happen, I think, right after we got off the airwaves last week. He got traded to the Oakland Raiders. I know they were in the hunt for him, but it just doesn't make sense why the Raiders, they gave up a 3rd-round pick and a 5th-round pick for Antonio Brown. This team's terrible. They just created somewhat of a buzz. Garrett, what's your first impression of this move?
See, I slightly disagree. Look, the Raiders were bad last year, yes.
Yeah.
But if someone's going to give you 2 first-round picks for Amari Cooper, you take it. Yeah, they were bad last year, but they're making moves, and it suggests to me that maybe they were just trying to maximize the assets that they had. Yes, Khalil Mack, that was probably something that blew up in their face.
Yeah.
And they probably knew they couldn't sign him.
Doesn't matter. They still handled that situation
Right.
extremely
They
poorly.
handled that situation poorly, but they're now, I think, looking at this and saying, okay, now we have a better receiver than Amari Cooper to give to Derek Carr. You go out, you hope that you can maybe try and find a run game it soon. They traded for that Osamele guy who's probably going to be playing on the left side of Derek Carr, so protecting his blind side. Didn't have to give up a whole lot there. I actually kind of like this for Oakland. And I know that they're kind of heading into their last year or two in Oakland, and then they're heading into Las Vegas. I actually do think they wanted to reset, maximize their assets. Again, they didn't handle Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper all that well, but they still got picks. They still got assets for it. Now they got 3 first-round picks to throw around, and they can build this team from the ground up. So I actually kind of like this move.
Joe, Malik?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's fine. I mean, especially the point like Garrett was saying that to basically trade up from Amari Cooper to Antonio Brown with some picks involved with it, that's a pretty good deal. Obviously, like they got a lot of question marks and a lot of holes in their offense and different things like that. But it's a start. It's a start though, for sure. And now they have draft picks where they can decide how they want to move this team, how they want to mold it going into the next era of Raiders football.
I understand from a roster, looking at a roster sheet standpoint, it looks like they improved. But the games aren't played looking at a roster sheet. There's so much dysfunction in that locker room. There's no true leader. It seems like they don't trust their head coach. There's a lot of things going on that I don't know. I just think it doesn't matter what they do if they don't fix things from the top.
Because this was only year 1 of John Gruden's plan.
Oh my God.
This is a plan that we don't have the extensive details on.
Chris, you're a big trust the process guy.
Exactly. It seems to be it's an old school plan that not a lot of people go along with these days.
You want to keep working here. Stay off the drugs.
That was to you, Garrett.
He's trying to go 4, 5, 6 years deep into this thing. He's completely rebuilding. You got to give him time. You judge him a lot for that first year in the Khalil Mack move, but
that was a bad move, man.
You got to give him time to get his guys in. You just said there are guys in the locker room. He's trying to weed those guys out. He's trying to get his guys in.
Antonio Brown is not the best for the locker room.
You got to get something with Derek Carr.
But you know what?
You have to get something to help your quarterback.
You know what Antonio Brown does do though? He's now near the Bay Area. So now you want to talk about growing his brand, kind of like how people were ripping on Kevin Durant for going to Golden State. He's building his brand. He's out there in Silicon Valley. He can do all these different things.
What does that have to do with anything about the Raiders, though?
Because he can.
What is building?
It doesn't. But it helps build his brand, so it helps build the Raiders brand. Because more
him
people now are trying to.
It might make him happier, and then he'll play a little bit better, and he'll enjoy himself.
We're
more.
grasping at straws, fellas. Come on.
No. Let's be fair here. People ripped Kevin Durant for the same situation for going.
Well, Kevin Durant was weak. That's why we rip him.
And I don't disagree with you there, but I mean, look.
LeBron.
But look at the access he has.
Okay, look at the players that were in. Sorry, Garrett, but look at the players that are in LA at the time LeBron goes there. Look at the players that are in Golden State when Kevin Durant goes there.
The problem was that everybody thought that LeBron was going to LA just to, win a championship for Los Angeles. No,
No, everybody knew he was going there to build his brand.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they
Not
did.
everybody.
No, they didn't.
I
Well,
guarantee
people-
not everybody.
Okay, people that pay
Lakers
attention
fans
to the
just said
situation.
LeBron is coming and we're winning championships.
Yes. Well, but
Yeah.
I view it the same way with Antonio Brown. I mean, he probably wants to go and build his own personal brand, and then in the process, play good football, be in a big market like Vegas in a few short years, have a young, exciting quarterback, sitting there, and then they're going to put pieces around him. So whether that's a running back, whether that's a improved O-line for Derek Carr and doing all these things, it's a process, Chris. You got to trust the process, baby.
And when they move to Las Vegas, he's going to be the face of Las Vegas sports.
Gary, if you want to walk out that door, it's okay.
You can stay.
No, he will be the face of Las Vegas sports, though. He really will.
Right.
And so it's
And we've already seen like Las Vegas growing as a sports fandom already just through hockey.
Yeah.
They only have one sports team. And now if they're going to get a football team with Antonio Brown, arguably one of the best receivers in football, that's a pretty big deal.
All right, guys. I'm going to go one by one here. Most overrated signing so far in NFL free agency, Joey.
Yikes.
mm,
Le'Veon Bell because it's at the Jets.
But that's a solid 4 years, $52 million. That's a solid.
I know.
not
I can't think of one off the top of my head for overrated necessarily.
more overblown.
Come back to me.
Garrett.
you know what? I think forget who this was. Honestly, I'm gonna say I think whoever signed Malik Jackson for was like 4 years at whatever, that was the most overrated signing. Like why? Why pay that guy? Oh, he won a Super Bowl. I don't know who half these guys are. I don't know who that dude is.
Malik,
For me, it's between two guys. I can't pick which one.
you have to pick one. This is not where we just we don't sit on a fence here. We make decisions. Just say it. Malik, go with your gut. I see it. You're just yeah.
I'm gonna go Nick Foles.
Same here. Nick Foles for me too.
But I also was thinking Latavius Murray to the Saints because I think his ceiling is where it is already.
Yeah.
I don't think he's getting any better. I think him and Alvin Kamara, I don't think they'll be the dynamic duo, him and Ingram were.
Joey, you've had a couple minutes here.
I'm trying to think
Oh my.
any of the Redskins deals that they've made.
Any Redskins deal they've made in the past 20
Actually, you know
years.
what? I'm gonna change that. Landon Collins. Why overpay for him? Because
Oh,
it's a
man.
dumpster
Landon
fire.
Collins.
Yeah, Redskins. So
Yeah. Most fine, Joey. Have it your way. I'll go Malik first on this one. Most underrated move so far.
D Ford to the Niners.
Mark Ingram to the Ravens. I think that fits him perfect.
3 years, $15 million too. That's a solid-
Absolutely
that's
fits
a
him.
steal.
It's good value.
Joey, are we ready over there?
Yeah, I didn't even realize that this was a thing until now. But Titans getting Cameron Wake, I think it's pretty good.
I didn't even know that happened.
Yeah, I
What?
just saw that.
The Chargers also just signed
yeah.
3 year-
Tyrod Taylor, so
3
we don't
year-
have to see Geno Smith anymore.
Yeah,
27 mil, right?
3
That
year,
was my dude.
$23 million for Cameron Wake. for
Geno
the
Smith
Titans.
was his dude.
I think that's a
That's
pretty
a-
big deal.
I miss
Good
Geno
sign.
Smith.
You shouldn't.
He should
Yeah.
be an assistant coach. He
Tyrod-
could be the QB
Mark
coach.
Sanchez was better.
Remember, your Jets at one point had Bryce Petty, Christian Hackenberg, and Geno Smith on the roster as quarterback. May we all
Yeah.
remember that.
That's why
day.
everybody loves Sammy Darnold, like Sammy D. It doesn't matter. You're just not. You're not Geno.
and
You're-
Taj Boyd, and it just goes on. Yeah.
Guys, let's just move on. I don't
goes
want.
on and on, man.
Like, can we talk about Le'Veon Bell more? I like
JETS.
Le'Veon. Okay, let's just move on, guys. Let's start to phase out of NFL talk, of course. Any more big news happens, big trades, big names, we will break them down next week. Actually, we might not even break them down next week because we might be just completely focused on bracketology.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Oh man,
We have to talk about Oakland's men's basketball team because we do have Garrett Kolodziej in the house. Oakland falls in the semis 64-63 to Northern Kentucky. Garrett, did you watch any of that one?
Yeah, I actually did watch the entire thing. I was busy, so I was going in and out, but I did watch most of that game.
as an Oakland graduate, I also watched. I also wear the bear.
You know what, though?
Yeah.
I'm going to say this. I wasn't upset about what happened at the end. I wasn't upset with the way that the game went. I wasn't upset by any of it because
They played
honestly,
a really good game.
they
should've
overexceeded
won.
on my expectations this
That
year.
was going to be my next question. Did they overexceed or underachieve?
They exceeded their expectations, in my opinion. I didn't expect this team to really have much of a puncher's chance this year because Oakland was already losing so much talent with Jalen Hayes and Martez Walker and Kendrick Nunn and Nick Daniels, and they were just so stacked, and it still bothers me to this day that they couldn't get anything done the last 2 years, for that matter.
None of the
They
K-Felder teams, none of the
right,
yeah.
not even having a guy like Martez and Sharon Dorsey Walker, having all those guys there.
That team with all of them in Percy, I still don't understand how they didn't make the tournament.
Yeah, and that just bothers me. But with that being said, I didn't expect much from this Oakland team this year. I knew they were going to be young. I knew that there were some guys that had a chance to play their way onto this roster. And honestly, I love the way that Braden Norris played. I think they've got something there with Trey Maddox as being a long, wing stretch, a stretch 2, stretch 3, really guards the perimeter really well, can get in, can score. He might not score a lot, but he can score, for you. Hill Mays is a great inside presence. And I'm honestly surprised at how well he can pass and how well he can shoot from both inside and outside. Oakland's got some work to do, yes. But when you're that loaded for that long and you put so many chips in all at once, I was expecting them to maybe have 10 or 12 wins this year. They won 17 games. They made it to the semis, albeit in a very weak Horizon League this year. Does it suck to lose like that on the last second buzzer? Yeah, it sucks. But, I wasn't expecting them to even be in that spot in the first place. So for me, I'm not going to sit here and make excuses. You lost, and yeah, it sucks. But next year you should be better.
Some of the best coaching I've seen from Campy in years, to be honest.
The fact that they were tied for first at one point in the Horizon League tells you how good of a job Greg Campy did this year as a coach, as they did as a staff. He got so much out of those guys, and especially out of a guy like Brad Brechting, who, albeit not the greatest offensive player, but defensively solid. Javen Cumberland came around so much this year. Kamari Newman, a transfer from George Mason, a Detroit boy, came home and played exceptionally well for this team. And they've got some pieces. So I'm hoping they can do something. I'm hoping they can add some transfers this upcoming year. They're young and they're going to be moldable. And I think that Campy might actually have a roster that might look similar to what you saw in 2010, 2011 when I first was there, with the Keto Bensons, the Reggie Hamiltons, the Will Hudsons of the world. And that could be something for us in a couple of years that I think you could see Oakland back up top the Horizon League.
What grade do you give them this season, Garrett?
I said they exceeded expectations, but I'd probably just say they were a B-, C+. They were average. I'm not going to say
you expected less than that, though.
Right, but okay, so I would just say a flat B then. That's
Okay.
fine. It was expectations were met, exceeded. There were 3 seed in the tournament. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, definitely.
I think him getting Braden Norris is one of the best players he's pulled in, because if Braden Norris didn't come here, I don't know if he would have been a D1 player. Him getting him in and him becoming the starting point guard and one of the best shooters in the country, that was really a coup, him pulling that off.
I know we're going to talk a little bit about the Big Ten tournament, and we're going to talk a little bit about that coming up, but if Foster Lawyer decided to transfer, I want Greg Campy to go out and get Lawyer. Norris can teach him how to shoot. Lawyer can teach him about the game management side of things. I just think it would work. But
Lawyer needs to go. He's not going to get any minutes at MSU. That dude can't play any minutes.
No, but getting back to Oakland, I think with what they were left with, I think Oakland did a nice job this year.
Yeah. Like you said, we're going to talk about the Big Ten tournament. We're going to talk about them right now.
Wait.
What?
Shouldn't we talk about the Pistons real quick?
They
had a big game that they
I was kind of
sort of messed up on.
They lost by 28 to Adrian College?
I was glazing over it.
Boy.
You put some respect on the Brooklyn Nets name, Garrett. They're 35 and 32.
Chris, I told this to Malik before I was even in
Just
here.
because
if you bring in their head coach into this studio with 4 other average white dudes who look similar to him, I would not have a clue who he looks like.
Just because you lack NBA knowledge doesn't mean you can knock the production.
Do you even know what the coach looks like, Joey?
Nope.
He knows the name though.
I possibly.
I don't know what he looks like, but I know he's coaching his butt off this year.
Thank you, Malik.
I know that. Yeah.
I will agree with Malik, and I watch a little bit of the association, so I do watch a little bit of it. But he's doing a damn good job. I'm just saying I would not be able to tell you what the dude looked like.
Joe, you want to talk about the Pistons before we go into it?
I just felt like this was a game to talk about because
there's
a lot of buzz around the Pistons.
It's funny that Joey wants to talk about the Pistons once they do something poorly.
Because
he doesn't want to talk about
it. They always do this.
Yeah.
They
were literally being talked about on
right.
ESPN for
Were they
their
really?
winning ways. Yes, because they were on a hot streak. They 10 of the last 12.
They're 12-3 in their last 15.
And then
now.
they were on another 5-game win streak. People are starting to talk, Are the Pistons the most improved team this season? A lot of people would say yes. I would say yes. And
Wait, what? No, they're not the most improved team this season.
like throughout the season, from where they were to where they are now,
yeah.
they were in the dumpster. Now they're playoff material.
Well, it's not that hard to do that in the East.
I'm just saying. They really turned it around.
All right, continue.
But for this game was supposed to be playoff environment caliber.
Yes.
Well, it was.
Game.
This
Just
was
by Brooklyn.
This
For
was
the
supposed to
Nets.
be close all the way throughout.
And every Piston that hit the floor came out flat. I think they shot under 30%.
They shot 25% from the floor.
And
Their worst shooting game, like since 2011 or something.
Like,
Like
you
Before
just-
this game, Langston Galloway hit his last
12.
his last 12 threes. Luke Kennard has been on fire. What
Blake
happened?
Griffin has been great. Andre Drummond
He's
has been
playing
out
the
of his
best ball of
mind.
career.
And none of them could do anything in this game. And that's a big concern. I will say that the Nets are sort of a bad matchup because they have a lot of really good guards, which is the Pistons' worst nightmare. But man, you got to come out better than that.
I mean,
it's okay to lose to the Nets, but not like that.
I agree with you. That was your third game in 4 nights. Brooklyn had a couple days rest, so they were ready to go. But I'm not going to give them that excuse to fall back on, but it's something to look into.
Yeah, and the other thing is like they have a big game tonight.
They do.
That's the other thing.
Now, I think if they lose tonight in Miami and they don't do it, and it's not a close game, then that draws concern.
Right,
It's
that's
how
what-
they bounce back from
right.
this one.
That's what I was going to say too. To bring it all together is like this is the test is tonight because they need to make this another playoff atmosphere type of game.
Don't
Yep.
let Dwayne Wade continue his farewell tour of giving teams the business.
Yeah, I agree with that. Since we're talking about Pistons right now, just might as well bring it up. According to Basketball Power Index, which we've been referencing over the past couple weeks about their percentage and chance to make the playoffs, even though they lost to Brooklyn, their chances are now at 98.2%.
They dropped
And-
a little.
Were they? I thought they were.
I think they were at
I
99
thought
at
they were
one
at
point.
87. Last week it was
I
87.
think like before that game when they were on their win streak.
Before the game. Yeah, I'm talking about last week though. I'm
Okay.
talking about last
like the
week
beginning
at the
of
show.
last week
At the
Okay.
show.
Okay.
And they are still favored to get the 6th seed because Brooklyn has such a tough schedule to finish out the year. But yeah, we'll find out again tonight. We'll talk about them, of course, next week.
The last thing I want to say too is that the reason that it's so important is because right now Indiana is in the 3 seed. That's why the Nets and the Pistons are really.
Indiana's at the.
Did they drop? I thought they were still the 3.
No, I'm pretty sure they dropped because Philly took over the 3 seed. I'm pretty sure. We're gonna
Okay,
check
then
right
it's
now.
okay if the Pistons
That's
lose.
what I was gonna say. It could be a blessing in disguise.
So either way, the Nets and the Pistons are going to be battling to
Pacers
to,
are 4 seed.
to play the Pacers. Either way, and that's like what they want.
Yeah.
If they can,
If you're the Pistons, you want to avoid Milwaukee and Philly, in my opinion.
for sure.
All right. Big Ten tournament preview. Big Ten tournament starts tonight. Starts today. I don't know exactly what time. Taking place in Chicago. And first matchup is Rutgers versus Nebraska, the 12-13 matchup. Winner of those two will play Maryland, who is the 5 seed. And then the second game of the night, Illinois versus Northwestern. That's the 11 and the 14 seed. MSU is number 1. They won the regular season Big Ten. They're number 1. Michigan sits at 3. Purdue at 2. I'm going to just keep this wide open for you guys. I want your just general opinion. Give me a prediction. Give me how you think this is going to go. This is the most exciting time of year for basketball. Joey, I want to give you the floor. What do you expect from the Big Ten tournament this year?
Most likely, everything that we've been seeing throughout the season of the Big Ten will be culminated into this tournament. I think there's going to be a lot of craziness. I think there's going to be a lot of close calls. I think there could be a couple upsets. I don't know if in the end there will be a lot of big upsets, but there definitely is a possibility for some. And it's just going to show people how good the Big Ten is, I think.
Garrett?
Nothing really surprises me with the top 4 seeds. All those teams have played really good basketball all year, being obviously MSU 1, Purdue 2, Michigan 3, and Wisconsin 4. I do see potentially a team like Iowa maybe causing some concern because I do think that they can shoot their way out of the gym, which is in its beautiful basketball if they play under Fran McCaffrey.
Although they've been on a slide the past few games with Fran McCaffrey out.
Right. But I mean, and again, that was one of Michigan's 6 losses this year. I mean, let's be fair here. As much as people want to say, oh, well, they did lose 6 games and they're projected to be a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament, Michigan, that's still a quality loss, and according to the way that they do things with the quadrant 1 losses and things like that. So they're fine. I'm not expecting this tournament to, be a mover shaker, but I do expect Purdue to win this thing. I expect Carson Edwards to step up. I expect Matt Harms to step up. They've got some really good three-point shooters on the outside. They're not only one of the best three-point shooting teams in the Big Ten, but also in the country. So I think Purdue's going to make it rain from outside. Carson Edwards is going to step up and be the leader that everybody thought he was and be the Big Ten player of the year that he should be. I'm not convinced by Cassius Winston. I don't think Cassius Winston's the player of the year in my eyes.
What do you think it is? Foster Lawyer?
Kenny Goins.
Kenny Goins is the X factor of that team.
But all being said, I think it's going to come down to Purdue and Michigan State. And I love Michigan. I think Michigan's got it's still a good shot, but until they figure out who's going to take shots, who's going to get the ball, and how they prioritize their shooting, I don't think they're going to three-peat.
Malik.
I think there are two teams outside of the top 4 or 5 that cannot be taken lightly. Rutgers and Illinois. These are two teams that I think Illinois won like six. I know it was like 5 out of 8 of their last Big Ten games, and they played extremely well against really good teams. Rutgers beat the mess out of Iowa in Iowa. They've been a solid team all season, so those two teams you really can't take lightly. Indiana still has a chance to make the tournament, which is insane. So if they raise to the talent they have at any point, there's a chance they could pull off some upsets out of nowhere. They have the talent.
The only thing that helps Indiana is the fact that they beat Michigan State and the fact that they essentially went, I think, like 12-2 or something in Big Ten play or whatever, which is unbelievable considering how they started. They started the year out 12-2 and then they faded down the stretch.
And they blew out Marquette at home early in the season.
And that helps their resume. So you know what? If they win, let's say they beat in Iowa, let's say they beat a Wisconsin or they play Michigan. I don't know how that actually works out. But
they would have to play.
They'd be in a play-in game probably if that happened.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they have to beat Michigan State for a third time to be able to get there.
Right. And their key for them is not only beating Michigan State, but getting to a final. Like for them to get to a final, I think would be huge. Indiana is a sleeper team, but I still think my sleeper team is Iowa. I still think Iowa can cause, mismatches on the guards. They guard really well on the perimeter. They're such a good shooting team with Bohannon. They've got a bunch of decent players on the inside. You can never doubt Iowa, in my opinion.
I think Minnesota's another one.
I was going to say, let's just piggyback off what he's saying. Well, give me your surprise team for the Big Ten tournament. Garrett, you got Iowa. Joe,
mine's Minnesota.
Minnesota. Why?
I mean, they've already beaten Purdue, and they might have to go up against them again. They beat Wisconsin. Minnesota's just always a dangerous team, and it seems like their side of the bracket is a little bit easier for them personally because, like I said, they've beaten Purdue. So if they go and play Purdue, then they know in their minds that they can beat Purdue.
Malik?
I'll go with Iowa, too.
And for what it is, Penn State and Minnesota would be on the bottom half of the bracket. The winner of today's game, I believe, which would be between Northwestern and Illinois, would go on and play Iowa. And then from there, you run into Purdue and Michigan on that side of the bracket. So Michigan and Purdue have proven this year to be vulnerable, especially Michigan of recency. But that's not to sleep on the fact that Wisconsin or Michigan State can go down at any time. Again, we saw Gonzaga lose in their final, in the West Coast Conference final yesterday.
Yeah,
St. Mary's.
That was a great game.
Anything can happen. Obviously, it's not going to keep Gonzaga out of the tournament, but anything can happen.
Before we talk, before I ask for who you have winning the Big Ten tournament, I want each of you to give me a player for the listeners listening in. What's a player they should watch in the tournament? It can be from any team in the Big Ten. I like Garrett first. I feel like Garrett's got something ready to go.
No, you know what? I'm on the fence with one guy. I think one guy to watch out for is Wisconsin's Ethan Happ. He's been there all 4 years. I feel
like he's been there for 8 years.
He's been there for 26 years.
He's been there for 45 years.
He was there when Bo Ryan first started out coaching at Wisconsin, but no joke.
Frank Kaminsky's been there since the 90s, and then Ethan Happ took over.
Right. Ethan Happ, I think, is going to be the straw that stirs the drink in Wisconsin. They added Iverson, the one kid from the graduate transfer from Rhode Island.
Oh, Allen.
No, not Allen. I think it's like Karan Iverson or something like that, or it's one either way. It's not Allen Iverson.
Oh, dang.
But Ethan Happ is your prototypical NBA stretch four. He can shoot threes. He can, make it rain from inside and out. He's a 6'8", big body. You can put him up against your best defender on the inside. Everything on the offense kind of runs through him.
And plays no defense.
He plays some defense.
I mean, once he gets to the NBA, he's not going to be playing any defense.
But like I said, he's that prototypical, stretch wing player that is now so coveted in the NBA. And I'm not sitting here saying that he's going to be a top 10 pick, but you could see him late second round, mid second round. He's a guy that I think if you get a chance to watch Wisconsin and watch the way they play, it can be a little boring at times, but Ethan Happ is definitely a guy that I love out of this conference.
Joey.
Man, it's hard for me to pick one.
Oh my gosh, Joe. Just make a decisive pick.
I'll say one of my favorite Big Ten players to watch this season has been Bruno Fernando for Maryland. I think he's an exciting player to watch. He's one of those guys that is a hustle player, but he can get buckets. But some of the blocks that he makes and defensive plays that he makes is really exciting. I think I just like the way that he plays, and I think he's kind of an X factor for Maryland that you always have to watch out for.
Malik.
I'm going Tyler Cook from Iowa. They're starting power forward. He's the big athletic guy that they give the ball to him down low, and he usually gets guys into foul trouble early in the game, and then he starts having his way. If he starts going, they go inside, outside, and they're really good shooters. They can shoot you out of the gym. That's what they did to Michigan. So Tyler Cook gets going. He starts dunking on people, getting going down low. Iowa can really start, putting it on people.
Also, another thing about Ethan Happ, shooting 54% from the field. I mean, he's putting up 18 and 10 on a decent Wisconsin team. So,
and he's a poor free throw shooter, which is even crazier that he's
right.
averaging those types of numbers.
Responsible with the basketball, he's under 2 turnovers per game, so a very responsible player out there on the floor for Greg Gard and the Badgers. I just think he's by far, you've got Carson Edwards, you probably have Iggy Bradstikis, you've got, as much as I hate saying it, maybe like a Cassius Winston or a Xavier Tillman at one point up there, and then it's Ethan Happ. He's right up there in the discussion with all those guys.
All right, guys. Who's playing in the championship game? Who's coming out on top? Either one. Any of you guys can take this one first.
Well, he picked Purdue. You can go more in depth on that.
Well, you've already picked Purdue. What was it? Purdue, Michigan State you had?
Yes. So Purdue and Michigan State will meet.
And you're picking Purdue.
I think it's going to be the battle of the point guards, battle of the Naismith Award winners, battle of Wooden Award finalists, Carson Edwards and Cassius Winston. And I think the Boilermakers will cut down the nets in Chicago, I believe it is.
Yep.
In Chicago, win the Big Ten tournament.
Joe or Malik?
I guess I'll go. I got Michigan State.
Oh, my. What a cop-out. Oh.
How is that a cop-out if you
cop
think that that's
out.
what's going to be?
Come on. It's a cop-out, Joe.
How?
It's such a cop-out.
What, you want me to pick
Chris, it could happen.
Nebraska Northwestern?
I like that better.
Chris, that could happen, though. That could happen. Michigan State could happen.
It could happen. Yeah,
Volume 3.
I think that's the most likely thing to happen. Michigan State, round 3. I have Michigan winning the whole thing.
I don't know how they do it.
Third time's the charm.
Just like I don't know how they've done it the past 2 years. I think Michigan wins it again.
Oh,
that's what I'm saying.
Guys.
I'm with Malik though. Third time.
Are they playing Michigan State too? Are they playing Michigan State too?
The past 2 years, I don't know. I don't know how Beeline gets these dudes to raise to this level of play in the Big Ten tournament. It's happened the past 2 years. This is a team. Once again, another team at the end of the season. There's questions going into the Big Ten tournament. Who's the guy? How are they going to get it done? And they figure it out every time it comes around.
They should have Charles Matthews back.
I'm gonna go with Michigan.
Michigan State.
Think about it.
Who's on the other side?
Purdue and I believe it's not Purdue. Wisconsin and Michigan State are on the top half.
Here, I got.
Because it would be Michigan State is 1 seed, Wisconsin's 4 seed, and then it would be essentially your semifinal would probably be Purdue and Michigan.
I'm gonna go Michigan, Purdue, and Michigan wins.
It can't be Michigan, Purdue.
They said Purdue was on that side. Oh, okay.
No,
they're on the same
Wisconsin,
side.
Yeah,
they'd be the
okay.
They'd be the semifinal.
So Wisconsin's on the other side.
Wisconsin and Michigan State.
I'll go Michigan, Wisconsin in the championship.
Joey cop out.
I don't think that's a cop out.
Think about it. Third time's the charm for Michigan to win, and it'll be their third in a row.
Power of threes.
I'm just saying. It's honestly a feeling that I have that Michigan is going to figure it out.
Is it the same feeling that helped
And
us?
what?
Wait. Is it the same feeling that helped us choose Loyola to go far in the tournament last year?
Possibly.
Is it that same feeling that Joey had to correctly predict Michigan going in the national title game last year?
Could be. Also,
If that's the case, we do have to consider this.
also, I mean, there is a factor of like what more could you want than a Michigan Big Ten title tournament
True.
final?
All right. Any last second things you guys want to add on before we call it quits here on the show?
I can't wait until next week's show because I think Michigan could win the Big Ten championship but lose in like the Sweet 16. I can't wait till next week.
I think this tournament's going to be a lot of fun. One thing I think will be awesome is how all this talent shines in the B1G. I mean, there's just so many good players this year in the tournament, and I'm looking forward not only to that, but just conference tournament season. Let's go.
Joseph?
It's here.
I mean, literally every matchup that there is, it seems like that team has beaten the other team at some point in the time, and maybe in the next round they've beaten that team, and it's all over the place. So I think some crazy things could happen. So it's going to be fun.
And I do think there are still some seeding that is on the line for this tournament. I think a team like Maryland, if they could win a game or two, could help their NCAA tournament stock. I think a team like Iowa could help themselves. Even Indiana, that could even work their way into the tournament if they would get a couple games under their belt and win in the tournament. So there's still a lot riding on this. As much as people want to say the top 4 teams are set and they're the best in the Big Ten, they are, but there's still a lot of seeding at stake.
And selection Sunday is this Sunday, March.
Wait.
What?
Who
Yeah.
do you think is going to be the Big Ten title?
Yeah, we didn't even ask you, Chris. Who do you think is going to be in the Big Ten?
Cop out.
look at his
Cop
look at
out.
his face. They weren't going to ask me.
You're
Oh my
right.
God.
He picked Michigan State. Just wait.
You just
I
pinned
have
out.
to
But
say-
now he's going to change it because I just said that.
I would say Michigan State.
Oh,
I'm faking Michigan.
Chris.
I
I'm
knew it.
faking Michigan.
Why? I'm the only one that has a real opinion on this show. I come in.
Oh,
Wait a
Whoa,
minute.
whoa,
Wait a
whoa,
minute.
whoa.
Wait a minute.
I come in on the Big
Wait,
Ten
whoa, whoa.
preview show.
Whoa.
I come in. What?
Did you hear it?
Say good day,
Yeah,
sir.
he said good day.
Say good day.
I come in here for you utilize my services for the Big Ten tournament
Utilize my-
and for the NCAA preview coming up on Tuesday. And yet you're going to come in and 2 of you are going to choose Michigan State. You're going with Wisconsin, Michigan, and I go with Purdue and Michigan State. I feel like I'm on a lonely island.
Yeah, because you picked Purdue.
What? Purdue doesn't do it for you?
No.
Carson Edwards has been on such a downslide
Yeah.
from an efficiency point of view.
He's
He's just
been-
been throwing up shots.
he's been
like,
James
hoping
Harden.
they
You
fall.
You guys, I mean,
it's been so up and down for him.
I'm contemplating putting putting Purdue in my Final Four. That is
Oh,
how confident I am
Whoa,
with the Boilermakers.
whoa.
Hot take
whoa.
alert. We'll see that next week.
I mean, a
That
little
is not
preview for
going
next
on the
week.
views from the sideline bracket. I'll
man.
tell you what.
No.
I mean,
can't wait to hear what
I'm
Sammy
studying,
says about that one.
I'm studying up on this because I got some friends of mine going to Las Vegas for the tournament. So I'm trying to be savvy and try and get myself a team going to the Final Four. I'm trying to pick a value pick, boys. A value pick.
This is
What
gonna
I've
be an
learned,
interesting show.
what I've learned from the big tournament is if you try to put too much thought into it, it's always going to
always,
hurt.
it always,
Absolutely.
It always comes back and burns
it always
you.
blows you
Just
up.
like the Big Ten tournament, I'm probably putting way too much stock into this, thinking it's not going to be Michigan, thinking it's not going to be Michigan State winning it. But you know what? It's probably going to happen.
When all else fails, just pick Loyola. That's what I say. Yeah, like we previewed, next week is our bracket challenge special. It's going to be a 2-hour special of views from the sideline.
We might go live with that one.
You might have to visibly separate me and Sammy. I
Wait,
will,
way to spoil it, even though I think Sammy's.
I'm going to have to because I will go off on the co-Big Ten champions, mind you, Michigan State Spartans, who limped into that title. They didn't win it outright. So let's hang another banner at Breslin Center. Oh, co-Big Ten champions 2019.
I
the
can't believe you
COVID.
have that much confidence in Purdue.
I'm the Michigan fan, and I don't even go on them that hard. I respect it.
I mean,
respect it.
since when has regular season titles mattered? I
No,
mean,
it's true.
Also,
I mean, let's be fair
Although-
here. As I lower the chair, Michigan
Garrett
State.
just-
All I'm going to say, I'm going to say this to Sammy, and he better be ready. All I'm going to say is, he thinks that Michigan's half national championship in '97 is cute. Well, that's cute that he has a half a Big Ten title in 2019. So
Yeah, if you didn't realize already, Sammy Termina is going to be joining us in the studio next week as well. It'll be
Can't wait.
the big three. Myself, Joey, Malik. Garrett will be back with us next week. And Sammy Termina. Garrett and Sammy will both be going at it for the entire 2 hours.
I think we'll all be going at it.
By the end, papers will be ripped. Feelings might be hurt.
People might leave the show in the middle.
Sweat will be poured.
Well,
There'll be a lot.
That's going to do it for the show this week. March 13th, 2019. Views from the Sideline. I'm Chris, Joe, Malik, and Garrett. We will see you guys next time.
Bye.
Deuces.
JETS. Suck, suck, suck.
Oh, got him.
Baker, touchdown maker.
That was rude, Malik.
Lion pride.
They suck.